say is the second critical self-leadership skill that every business owner should have?
I would say, kind of linked to the first one, is more your awareness of how well you interact with other people. How well are you communicating to maybe your team, your department, or your family if it's outside of work context as well? How aware are you of their motivations, their dreams, goals as well? One of the pitfalls, if you care too much about self-leadership in an unbalanced way, you can think it's all about developing you so that you achieve everything you want to achieve and life's perfect. But I think it's very limited if you stay there. I think we should grow as ourselves the best that we can to be better leaders for other people, to help develop them. I think that's really where it works. I grow best under other leaders that are helping to develop me. I've experienced that firsthand. And I know that from my perspective, when I'm developing other people, I feel a lot more fulfilled, and I find it a lot more rewarding. But it's also from an organizational business perspective, the legacy is you're developing other people for succession, but also just from a relational perspective. If you're just living for yourself, getting everything you can from people, it's very destructive, I would say. Nobody
agree.
wants to be around people like that. And I think we've missed the point if we stop there.
Yeah, because I think one of the greatest legacies in business is to help your team grow. Because actually, if you help your team grow, they're going to be happier. You're going to retain your staff a lot longer. Because most people quit a job, not for the pay, believe it or not, but they don't like the culture of the business. And that starts with the leader, right? Yeah. And if you don't have the right culture and you're not helping them build their own career, then they're going to leave. So it's a very critical aspect that you're not just focusing self-leadership on you, that you're doing exactly what you said. You're helping the team grow and helping other people grow. One, you're getting more satisfaction out of that. And two, your business is going to benefit from that. Because, people, if they feel motivated and that you have their best interest at heart, they're actually going to work harder for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say, please work harder. They're going to automatically work harder because they love working for you as a leader.
Yeah.
I'm definitely have found that in my corporate career that if you had a good leader, you'd go to the end of the world almost to get done what they want to get done, because you admire them and you respect them and you want to do your best. I think that's part of human nature.
Yeah. And
right?
that's the culture that if we build that within teams, organizations, you get exponential returns all around. Everyone feels more productive, everyone feels more motivated, as you say. And the sky's the limit really on what you can achieve together. And
I think a lot of leaders completely miss that part. And Elon Musk is a great example of a leader who sees it through a very narrow perspective, which is his own perspective. And it kind of blew up on him when he purchased Twitter. And I'm not sure in this day and age if he'll ever recover from that situation. Yes, you'll always have people working at Twitter and Tesla, but how motivated are they? And do they really want to work for that kind of leader? It puts a big question mark there, I think, in my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
So this second critical leadership skill, why is this skill so important? I think we've covered some of it, but would you like to elaborate a little bit more?
I think, how would you answer the question, would I follow me? So if you weren't you,
Good
would you
one.
follow you? To me, again, it's one of those questions that I hold myself accountable to, just from the perspective, because otherwise you never put yourself in other people's shoes, and therefore you don't see from their perspective, and therefore, the world revolves around you again, and we're back to the same problem. So I think it's, stop and ask yourself that fairly regularly. The other side of that is, if you're part of a team, it's like, ask yourself the question, okay, would I be recruited for this team again? Have I changed since I was recruited to the way that I now add more value, or am I just sort of becoming a negative influence on the team? So it comes back to honesty, doesn't it? If we're honest with ourselves, we'll ask the hard questions, and then we'll, what we do with the response again is determined by how well we want to lead ourselves, really.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you develop this skill?
I think with regards to this aspect, you do need external input. You can only kind of guess a lot of how you think you come across yourself. That's quite limited. In an ideal world, you will have already sort of been nurturing a good environment within your team, within your companies, where people can be honest with you. People will give you honest feedback without fearing that their potential raise is at risk if they challenge you on something. And that can take time. To a certain extent, you need to show a level of vulnerability at times. You need to show people that you're human as well, and you're trying to do the best for everybody with regards to the pressures that are coming on you and the decisions you need to make. But I think the key input really is other people, honest feedback that will just say, actually, you're really good at this, but at this aspect, you're just, from a scale of 1 to 10, you're a 3, and you need to raise that to 7. And I think if we're on the growth journey ourselves, we'll happily hear that without responding in a negative way, and we'll actually start to make changes to help improve ourselves and then the health of the team as well. And within a family context, it's the same, isn't it? Can you have the honest conversations either with your children or your spouse to say, what are the areas? I think I know the areas I'm good at, but what are the areas am I not so good at? Because we've all got blind spots, haven't we? We've all got things that we don't realize is detrimental to other people. So I think, getting other people. And I suppose the other side of that is, can you be a person that can give honest feedback as well? Are you secure with who you are as a perspective from your own person and your own leadership perspective, that you can give honest feedback to other people rather than the answers that you think they want to hear, because that's not really going to help anybody in the long term.
And one of the biggest skills, I think, in self-leadership is listening, because you have to listen to that feedback, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And take that in and take it on board. And sometimes that's not easy. Yeah.
There is a danger sort of within leadership circles where it's like, right, we need to get engagement from the staff, from the team. We need to get input, regular input. But then if you're not acting or acknowledging it to some extent, doesn't mean you have to necessarily do everything that they say, but acknowledging it and communicating in a positive way, that even if you're not necessarily going to change this, this, and this, you've considered it, and these are the valid reasons why we're not, but we're actually going to do this and this, and take on board sort of a lot of what you said. If it just becomes, a tick box exercise, people just disengage, you're not going to get the responses that you want. And again, how many companies know that have sort of gone through that and are still where they are, really?
You definitely have to take the action. I remember when we went through this in my corporate career, we went through this whole leadership thing. And in the round table, one of the criticisms of me, well, not critical in the sense of very negative, it was just pointing out that I was very quick to solve a team manager's problem, Like they come with a problem and I just say, well, do this and that and this and that. You know, they really weren't asking me to give them that advice. They wanted more for me to hear them out on what they proposed. So then I got thinking, yeah, that's true. Because I'd done their role before, I'd been in that role before, I knew how to solve the problem, but that wasn't helping them at all. They wanted a sounding board in me. And therefore, if I could help them with that, then when they really had a critical question that they couldn't figure out, they would come to me. So I thought I was helping them, but I wasn't. I was not helping them grow. So I stepped back and let them do it their way. And it was a much better result because they became a stronger leader because they were working things out. And then they felt comfortable enough that they could come to me at the end and say, look, I've tried this, I've done that, but I'm really stuck on this. What would you suggest? So it was a whole different way of working with the manager. And once I realized that, I thought, well, this is to their benefit for sure. And it's to my benefit too, because they were solving their own problems.
Yeah.
It was a great learning curve for me to get that feedback and to act on the feedback. So I love that part of it. To develop that skill, you have to, be open and willing to hear the feedback from the team. And then step number 2 is putting it into practice, what they've recommended or what they've said, not just pushing it aside and say, we'll talk about it in 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever, and really just pushing it around and not really addressing it. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to get started on this particular aspect of self-leadership?
I would say it depends how healthy your sort of team environment is. If you're going to sort of seek feedback from team members directly, you could start with immediate family members, because chances are that the areas where I'm not good at work are probably showing up at home as well. And actually, if you sort the home stuff out, if you do that first, then maybe the work stuff will actually be a lot easier. We have a lot more accountability to our immediate family than team members, in the sense, from lots of different reasons. But the priority really is to get it right with our closest relationships, and then the outworking is the byproducts with everybody else as well. So I would say as soon as you can start having a conversation, maybe pick your moment. If you're chatting with somebody that's under pressure, you're not going to get the best response straight away, but pick a time where you can just set aside distractions, have a proper conversation, and maybe start by communicating why you're asking them for feedback as well. Let them realize that you're actually trying to discover more about how you can act, behave, think better. Then I think they'll be more open to giving you honest feedback as well. And again, you have to have a certain level of self-confidence, self-esteem as well, to take hearing the bad stuff, because we've all got stuff that we need to improve on. And I think if we're not ready to hear that, then we should focus more on building our confidence first, and getting to that point where we can hear it really.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. So if you get stuck on this one, what would you do?
I would say if you get stuck on it now, particularly if you've heard a discussion like this, I think it's more that you've either stopped being intentional about discovering more of yourself, and how you communicate. There is the danger that when things get busy, we sort of park the growth stuff and we just do the essentials of hitting the figures, getting the stuff out the door, whatever targets might be. And then it's so easy to get back into the autopilot responses where, we just do the same thing. The learned behaviors are the things that are evident. and we're not looking to change or to see how we can change. So I think it's probably that, if you're stuck, or it's just at the point where maybe you're not being honest with yourself or honest with others that you actually do, or you've not demonstrated that you do want to learn for the purpose of changing. I think they're the two key aspects. If you're not in either of those side of things, I think the whole sort of discovery thing touches back to what we said earlier about just staying consistent. Give it a bit of time regularly to explore a bit further and to think about the answers that you're getting from people as well.
Yeah, very good point. So what would you say the third skill is that business owners need to develop in the area of self-leadership?
I would say the third point really links in lots of ways to the first two things we've discussed about developing our own personal insight or self-awareness, and then how we come across and respond with others. By developing check-in points or review points, I've sort of touched on this already, but I think, and this is an area that I sort of learned and have struggled with to some extent, because I don't find this to be a natural thing that I enjoy doing. Because I like moving forward, I like doing things. Pausing and looking back to then look forward better, to me, I see the value in it, but there's a challenge. So I think just developing a certain level of review point, so it doesn't have to be a huge amount of time. I think if you try and spend too much time on it, you'll lose motivation as well. But just review, okay, I really wanted to develop and work on this aspect. So maybe I wanted to improve my listening skills. Over the last week, would I say that I've actually become a better listener? Could I give an example where actually I understood and heard something someone said better because I listened? You know, am I not doing something else while someone's talking? Am I giving my undivided attention? Things like that. And just review where you are to see that, you know, you are making progress, or if you're not, what could you actually do differently? So am I asking for lots of feedback from people and then just putting it, you know, in a folder somewhere, and I've not looked at it since? Am I actually accomplishing some of the things that I'd like to accomplish that I set out, you know, in my growth journey or within the organization as well? And so I think it's just checking in regularly sort of throughout the day, and then just having review points at the end of the week, the end of the month, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it helps to keep you sharp, and it helps to develop that as it's a lifestyle. It's part of my life, the bigger picture, rather than it just be an activity or a job that I have to do every now and again. It's like, no, I think the more we actually learn and start the growth process intentionally, I think the more we enjoy it, because we want to discover things about ourselves. We want to become a better person generally. Unless you've had a lot of sort of trauma and different abusive situations that have, you know, damaged your self-image. Everybody wants to grow and become a better person, I think. So I think it really is, it's almost like a dopamine hit, that as you start to grow, you see more potential, and then that can be motivating as well.
And you can't fix everything at once. Like if there's a lot of things you need to work on, is your suggestion that you kind of do one at a time so that you're intentional about it? Yeah.
I think, you know, there's a danger if maybe maybe you get feedback from your team with sort of 20 different things that you need to change. In
that's
some ways,
the worst case scenario.
yeah, absolutely. But if they give you that much, that's positive, but don't get overwhelmed. And it's like, you know, it's like anything. It takes a process of time for growth and for change to happen. I think it's more identify the most critical thing that you need to or want to change. What's giving you the most pain, what's hindering you the most, that, you know, within your team or whatever, and focus on that. And all the other things, once you start working on one area, I found it then becomes easier to work on the other areas, because you grow as a person, you get more motivated, and you actually think, yeah, this is doable, I can do this. But yeah, as you say, don't try and do it all at once.
So if the whole team says you're a lousy listener, then that's the thing that you start with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the feedback from a team, that's why it's so important, because you can take that feedback and then sort of a scale of 1 to 10, what's the most important thing for you as a person to work on first, and then gradually go through the list. And as you say, it's not a one and done. You're not going to see it today and have it fixed tomorrow. It's an ongoing process that you have to keep working on until it becomes a natural part of your self-leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other aspect is like life is constantly changing, isn't it? So the influences, the stimuli, the pressures around from one moment to the other can change for us, and also for the lives of the people that we lead as well. So just keeping that awareness of needing to sort of review and adapt as we go, I think is huge. Stands in a good stead if we do that.
Well, we have a great example, having gone through almost 3 years of COVID. It's changed everybody's lives in their personal lives and in their work life. And so this is a big change to navigate, I'd say, in the next 2 or 3 years, because people aren't the same coming out of this COVID period than they were before when there was no COVID. And I think that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. And, hopefully it's not the case, but who knows what's just around the corner that could affect everybody on the planet again. There's different things, isn't there, that happen that we can't predict or control. The key thing is control what you can, isn't it? You can control your own behavior, your own thinking. I think focus more on that, and the rest of it is easier to navigate.
So are there any tools or websites or apps that can make it easier in this area of self-leadership?
I would say depends how you want to do it and how you're wired. I always think life's better with a spreadsheet or two on the go, just to track stuff, record stuff. That's just me. That's part of how I'm wired. There are coaching apps. So some of the people that I work with, you can put habit trackers on coaching apps and things like that. It depends really on the area you want to focus on. So if from a time management perspective, maybe you think, actually, I could be sharper with my time. One tool that I use, every now and again, I will just assess and break down and record how I spend my days. So maybe like for 3-month period, I'll log every day. And now this sounds quite detailed to some people. Some people just aren't wired to do it that way at all, and that's fine. But I will track under several different categories. How much time did I spend today on personal growth? How much time did I spend with family? How much time do I spend on self-care or on work? Whatever you decide is valuable and your time. And then literally, like from a day-to-day basis, you probably don't realize it. But if you look back over a 3-month period and you just break down, okay, of the hours that I was awake, X% was spent on personal growth. Is that a good number compared to, did you spend more time watching TV than with your family or something like that? And it's again, data, if data's accurate, it can help inform decisions that we make. So that's just a simple tool that I've sort of developed and used. Some of the clients use it, some sort of struggle with the detail of it. So it's just like, we'll just tweak what works for you.
Some people do journaling.
Yeah. I think somehow you have to make notes of something you want to track. Otherwise it just becomes, I can't remember. I think I said I'd do that, and then nothing happens. So everyone that I coach will definitely, when they set an action, they will definitely record it. They will be specific about it and repeat back to me what I think they've said and committed to. And that's then what you use to see progress. If you're not clear with certain things, like if you don't know where you want to aim, then you're not going to know when you get there, really.
No.
So you have to track it somehow.
Exactly. So how long does it take to get started in this area?
I would say you could start as soon as you finish the podcast, literally just by reviewing, the last 7 days. Have you had a good last 7 days? How have you felt most of it? Would you say it's been successful? Of all the things you want to achieve, did you hit one or two of them? Did you achieve everything you wanted to do? So you can literally start straight away. One of the things I do, again, it's a spreadsheet focus. I list at the end of the week, or by the end of the week, I review the accomplishments that I've done throughout that week. So I'll either jot them down as I do them, or I look back at the calendar, certain events and appointments I've had, and just track then over the week, did I do well? Did I achieve what I wanted to do? Then that part informs my quarterly review. So I spend a little bit of time every 3 months just looking back on the quarter, which helps to inform changes that I want to make going forwards. So it really is, you can start where you are, start small, and then however it works for you, develop it in a way that is sort of sustainable for you. If you really don't like spreadsheets or tracking stuff, you'll find a way that works for you, really.
Because if
so I
you
would say
don't, if you don't do the way that works for you, then you're just going to abandon it in a few weeks. So, if you're not a spreadsheet person and you keep trying to do it that way, it's not going to work for you. You're better off to find a different method. You can record it, just talk it. You can write it by journaling it, or as you said, use a spreadsheet if that's or one of the apps as you mentioned. But you're right. You have to do it the way that works for you, or it won't be sustainable in the future. Yeah. So are there any other skills that we haven't mentioned yet that we should be mentioning?
There's lots that we could talk about. Definitely. I think there are many elements when it comes to self-leadership, when it comes to life in general, behavior, thinking, and all of those aspects, that they all interlink. I think emotional intelligence is key. I know Kylie has written a chapter in the book as well, which is really good. But linked to emotional intelligence is what you focus on, time management, self-care, whether you're setting goals, all of those sort of different elements all require certain skills to be developed. And again, it's partly how you want to express them as an individual, how you want to focus on certain bits and prioritize other bits first. So I think it's a myriad of a lot of different things, but I think as you start the process of discovery, it becomes more evident to you of, okay, maybe I'm not so bad at that, but I really need to work on goal setting, or I need to work on my mindset, because one minute I feel great, the next minute I feel really bad, or I feel negative. More often I'm a negative influence to the team, something like that. If that's coming up in your awareness, then it's like that's the thing to focus on next. Then you get the most benefit from it all round.
So what about mindset going into this? If you're looking at self-leadership, what's the best mindset to get started that business owners should have going into it? I mean, you got to have the right mindset going into it, or you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. I think it's a mix of several different aspects, in the sense of you have to approach it from the point of view that you can grow. I think that's the key one. If you're not at the point where you feel you can grow, then you need to work on that. What would be the reason that you would give that you couldn't grow, would be the first question I would ask, really. It's realizing that we have a lot of potential, which, unless we're intentional about tapping into it, it's going to stay dormant. Nobody else is going to really work on your potential, certainly not as well as what you could. And to some extent, they're not motivated to, and they shouldn't. It is our own personal responsibility, because at the end of the day, we get the results of our actions, and if we don't like what the results we're getting, we need to change our behaviors and our actions. And that really comes from, what are we thinking about? Do we think we can achieve things? So I think mindset, from a perspective of, you can definitely improve, you can lead yourself better wherever you are. If we're honest, we can all lead ourselves better in one or two areas at least. than what we currently are. Whether we want to or not is a different response completely, but we have the option to do that. I think the other aspect is, don't be too hard on yourself. The thing I love about developing self-leadership is you can start where you are.
Yeah.
You might have been really successful at one point, and for whatever reason, you let it slip. 10 years have gone by. You're now hearing this thinking, actually, I'm not where I was. That was really good. I enjoyed that. That's when I felt really alive. That's when I helped other people the most. I want to get back to that. You can just start where you are. Start working on the critical things first. And a lot of the other aspects will just naturally become evident as well. So I think it's giving ourselves the right level of space, I suppose, on the growth journey.
And grace.
Yes. Absolutely.
Nobody's perfect, so we can all work on ourselves and give yourself grace if you slipped, and you're not where you think you should be, or you're not where you were when you were the happiest. You can get there again, but you just have to be open, as you say, with the right mindset to get started again. Yeah.
And there's a huge amount of resources out there, isn't there? I mean, one of the benefits of being alive at this point in history is the access to so many resources that we have. Obviously, that can be a challenge, and you have to balance that as well. But there's so many different ways and people that can help in lots of different ways. So it really is just sort of taking your time, but being intentional about staying consistent, I would say, to really get the benefit from it.
Well, this has been a fantastic interview, Trevor. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. So could you tell us a little bit about your where guests can or listeners can get hold of you, like your website and that kind of information? Yeah,
sure. Thank you. It's always good chatting with you. I love chatting about leadership. Just I learn stuff as I chat as well. And I just like helping other people as well. TrevorStockwell.com is the easiest way for people to find me. I'm on certain social media platforms. Head to the website, that's the easiest way, and then from there you can find others. I haven't gone for world domination on every social media platform. Certain ones seem to work better, partly because it all takes time to really do well, doesn't it? So but people can touch base with me there if they want to.
Or on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn as well. Yes, I am there, definitely. If you send me a connection request through LinkedIn, though, mention that you've heard me on the podcast. I do ignore a lot of random cold connection requests if I don't know who you are.
That's a good tip. I always write a note why I want to connect to the person, so they know I'm not just going to spam them, selling them something within 5 minutes, the connection. I want them to know that I value their time and value and want to build a relationship. So if you write the note, then you're usually never turned down. Yeah,
that's it. And that goes back to communication, doesn't it? How well do you communicate with other people in a way that helps them? So
So that's thank you once again, Trevor, for this great interview. And so again, I'm Elaine Slatter, a podcast host of the Fabulous Fempreneurship Podcast, and one of the authors of this brand new book coming out on Amazon. And we'll have the link to that in the podcast as well, so that you can either buy or book to get either the Kindle copy or a printed copy of this book coming up in the spring of 2023. So I hope you have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon, Trevor.
Thanks very much. Bye for now.